welcome to the Mike Kellar Show. Coach, thanks for being here today.
It's good being here.
All right, Coach, first thing, just your thoughts on Saturday's loss.
Obviously disappointed. Going into it, I thought Emory Henry was a good football team, a veteran team, South Atlantic Conference team, big physical team. That being said, after playing them, I still think those things, but I think we helped them a ton. We did not play our best game. I think we had 5 turnovers, 4 interceptions, a turnover on a kick return, a couple draw. Just did not play well at all. I don't know if it's first game jitters or nerves, but obviously wasn't happy with our team's performance. Losing's part of, if you play enough, you're going to win, you're going to lose. I think that's part of the game, especially when you're playing a good foe like Emory and Henry. But giving it, helping them win isn't anything that we want to do, and it really isn't something that we've been, in the past. Just it was one of those days. We've had a couple of those games in my tenure, and a couple's too many, but hopefully we don't have very many more.
You talk about the turnovers. I mean, they played you. Like you said, 4 interceptions, fumble on the kickoff return. How do you clean that up heading into Lock Haven?
Well, I mean, if that was something we did every day in practice, or if it's something in the last 2 years that we've done a lot, I would be concerned about it. Obviously, I am concerned about it, but by the same token, I mean, we run a play, we run all the time, we throw a corner out. If the ball's 2 feet this way, it's a touchdown. 2 balls 2 feet inside, kid goes up, makes an interception. The RPO, where the defensive end jumps up and catches it, I'd be willing to bet that was a 1 in a million play, by them. So almost like those 2 you live with. The other 2 are just bad decisions. They're bad decisions. Trying to scramble, make play. I think the scoreboard, being down, the first game, the expectations, I think some of those things mentally force you to make those, or at least in your mind, think you have to make those decisions. Hopefully it's something we learn from. Obviously it's been addressed. It will be addressed in practice, and something we can't let continue to happen.
You mentioned those plays, and overall you had more first downs, more passing yards. You ran more plays, you had more possession time, but it seemed like they had more big time plays. How do you minimize that now coming to this week?
Same thing really. I mean, people see the mistakes on offense, especially a quarterback. If we have the ball, then they got the ball. It's easy to tell that we messed that up. But really defensively, our defense really played a good game, but just had a couple mental errors, missed alignment. A couple of those big runs early were just simple misalignments. I mean, and we're a relatively simple scheme. I mean, we make it look like a lot, but it's relatively a simple scheme. And for us to misalign on a couple of those big runs, very disappointing. Again, I think it's an emotional. It's not an intelligence thing. It's not something to do in practice. If you watch us practice Wednesday, we were about as smooth and as clean on both sides of the ball as you can be, but the emotional intelligence of being able to handle the stress in a game is part. I mean, you got to play the games, So it's something that we got to do a better job of handling.
And you mentioned the defense. I mean, they had 7 tackles for loss, 4 sacks, interception. Still gave up 38 points. How do you feel they played overall?
We tell them that it's their job to play no matter where they get the ball at, what the position is, what the field position is, what the turnover battle's going. It's their job to go in and stop them. And I do believe that. But the truth of the matter is, we didn't give them a lot to play for. And we put them behind the chains a few times, with bad field position, with turnover. If we clean up at the end of the day, and I showed them all the stats of the game, with turnover ratio and explosives and all that. Explosives were about even 5 to 7 them. First down ratio, they were a little bit better than we were. But at the end of the day, they were 3 for 3 in the red zone. We were 1 of 3 in the red zone, and then we had 5 turnovers, and they had, I think, only 1. So, at the end of the day, those stats they're just numbers. What really mattered was keeping the ball and not turning it over.
And now with that game in the rearview mirror, you move on to Lock Haven. I went 5-6 in 2023, picked 5th in the PSAC East, which is their best preseason pick in 20 years. They're also 4-1 on the road last year. What have you seen so far out of Lock Haven?
I think they're very well coached. We don't have a lot on them because obviously they haven't played yet this year, and everything we do have is from a season ago. Very, very, very well coached team. I think they're playing with a high level. I was in the PSAC for 10 years. We played Lock Haven almost every year. They were not a program that played with a lot of confidence. They were not really a winning program. This coach has come in. He's in his 3rd year. He's done a really good job getting them turned around. I mean, I think they're extremely well coached on both sides of the ball. Offensively, some of the schemes they do, some of the RPO stuff they do, some of the leverage throws they take advantage of. The West Coast throws throw game, the screens and draws. They're very, very good. Now a year ago they had a tailback who's now was in the Ravens camp, I believe. And their quarterback's a good player, but they replaced him with a very good player. The kid they got's a transfer. He started
Rhode Island.
And he played at Southern Connecticut. Started there. I mean, they got a very good tailback. They got very good skill everywhere, and then defensively, I think they're super well coached. They ran a very good scheme. It's going to be. We played Emory and Henry and Lock Haven this year on purpose. The last 2 years, our out-of-conference games were games we won. Really going away.
Yeah.
And we thought, I thought in particular that in order to win this league, we needed a little bit. We need to go through this preseason and play some really good foes to kind of get a better feel for where we're at. Also, it lets you see where you're at on the national scene. I mean, teams that aren't picked very high in their league, they're very good opponents. Hopefully, these games get us ready for our league, which our league ain't going to be. It's going to be just as tough too. So hopefully Saturday is a learning experience and one that'll help us with this Saturday and all the Saturdays we have coming up.
And you mentioned Coach Dan Mulrooney. You mentioned the quarterback, Jackson Ostrowski from Rhode Island. We talked about it last week with the running back from Emory Henry, preparing for him. Now you prepare for a transfer quarterback. How do you do that? Because it goes from a guy that was in a whole completely different system now into a new one. How do you prepare for that?
The same answer is you really got to worry about yourself. I mean, our emphasis is going to be not turning the ball over, not having misalignments on defense, not giving them big plays. Those players you're talking about, the transfer quarterback, the running back, the different guys, players are going to make plays. What we can't do is give them plays, and make them earn what they do get.
And we mentioned the transfers. I mean, they got a lot of veterans, a lot of graduates, especially when they're too deep, seniors, juniors. Does it change how you view teams when you see them with a lot of freshmen? Because, freshmen are more prone to make mistakes. Does that change how you view when you see a veteran team?
We were a veteran team, and some of our veteran guys, made the mistakes in the game. So, I think if you really look at it and you look at transfer portal football, you're going to see some sloppiness, especially early in the year. I mean, I got some friends from around the country, and they go out and they sign 30, 40 new kids, and they're super excited about it, and then they go in and they don't play well together. And I'm like, yeah, well, I lived that life at Cal. I remember my last year there as the OC, we had 33 new transfers, and I had a Division I Elite 11 quarterback. We got beat 21-0 first game of the year. And that team ended up winning 9 games. I mean, so it takes a minute. It takes a minute to cook it.
And then lastly, what's it going to take for you guys to bounce back from last week's loss?
They got to play cleaner. I got to coach better. I would start it there. I don't know that I put us in the best of situations. And then anytime you're behind and you're chasing the scoreboard, you just it kind of digs yourself deeper in that ditch. We got to play a little bit cleaner. We got to look at the game a little bit different. When you're down a couple scores, you don't have to throw a 60-yard touchdown. It's not worth two scores. You just got to go down and get a score and then play good on defense, get the ball back, and just ease your way. If we play clean, then we got a good football team. We could run. We could do some things like you said. I mean, when you watch that tape, you're like, man, they're big and physical and hitting, and we're just as big and just as physical and hitting just as well and running around just as well and blocking just as well, but we were making mistakes and they didn't.
Well, Coach, we appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for watching the Mike Kellar Show.